John Huntley, he's not gonna be here. Volunteer to go.
Still mad at you.
We verified.
I warned her. It's not 6:30.
We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum, so we will get started. If you would, oh, Roger, would you do the pledge?
Sure.
If you'd stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Pastor Nunn.
Okay, stop the word prayer, please.
Thank
Our
you.
Father and our God, we thank you for our setting tonight. Father God, we thank you for the many that are here. We pray for our superintendent, the staff, our school board, and that do such a job to make it a better community as well as a better school. Lord God, we pray you be comforted by your spirit tonight, that you give us strength and continue to give direction. We thank you in advance for the renovation of the building. Father God, we pray that you touch bereaved families from the Davison family, the Ford family, the Woodson family, and many others tonight, and that you strengthen and comfort as you know how. For it's in the matchless, precious name of your Son, Jesus Christ, we pray. And the people said,
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for being here.
Ray is one of many preachers that have come and prayed for us, and we really do appreciate that, Ray. We really do. Ray's a great part of the community and does a fine job. We're probably going to hit Ray up to help us with our baccalaureate this year, too. So I see you rope them in, and then they keep coming. So thank you, Ray.
So you might want to write that down. Or...
yeah, we'll take a note. I'll give it to Brian. He can give it.
And I'd like to read the mission of GISD. The mission of Gatesville ISD, a portal to limitless possibilities, is to empower our students to be life-ready knowledge seekers and problem solvers by instilling leadership, innovation, integrity, critical thinking, and service through challenging and engaging learning experiences facilitated by passionate teachers and supported by caring parents and community members. Okay, Dr. Pollard, we are going to have the board member spotlight.
Well, we're doing something we didn't particularly want to do tonight. I just want to go on record by saying John Westbrook stinks.
I second
A whole
that.
lot worse has been said about people in this room.
I second that.
John stinks at retirement. John is a busy, busy man. And he does a lot of things that, since he has quote unquote retired, that he is extremely busy. And he has been gracious enough to help get me on board, help us through some big projects, and he finally said, no mas. He has had, I guess, 20 or more interns that he supervises through the teacher.
30 right now.
30. So 30 aspiring teachers that he has to go to point A to point B, watching them, observing them, giving them advice and feedback, and so he said, I just can't do anymore. But he helps a lot behind the scenes though. And John, you can't ask for a better board member. Former high school principal, my old band director.
Wow.
He's got the fine arts down, accountability. He's a smart guy, and he's a hornet through and through. And so we hate to see him go, but tonight he graced us with his presence one last time so we could give him a plaque and then send him off into the sunset. But, yes, we're hoping, though, that John will come again at some point, and you never can tell. Things change. He may actually retire at some point. And but John, we really appreciate you. So if you could come on up. Anybody else want to say some words about John?
I'd like to say a couple things. John, I appreciate you being here. You have helped in so many ways. I've known you for a long time and lots of different jobs, and you're a friend, and I admire you and thank you. And I really enjoyed having the seat next to you, and you made this with all your knowledge a lot easier for all of us. And We did go to SFA together, so,
Ask
yeah.
Oh,
Go
me
to-
too. Yes,
All right.
All right. John, are you ready for the obligatory group photo?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's do it. All of your stuff.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
you get a G?
I'm telling, love the G. Am I where I need to be?
You are right. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, we can't cry.
Thank you, Rocky.
I'm getting jabbed. Feel like I'm playing basketball.
Thank you.
Lucky that's
Thanks,
all.
John.
It's been a pleasure, John. Appreciate you. Text you very much.
It was an honor. Couldn't have made
You're
it.
the same, and I would certainly tell you the same. Okay, good. Don't know you're good. Enjoy the sir.
Yeah. John, you're a good
Thank
man.
you, sir.
Stay in
I would
touch.
say the same. Bye. Thanks. Hey.
We know where you live.
Appreciate it. Will do. Okay. Y'all take care.
Thanks, John. Thanks, John. Thanks again.
Appreciate y'all.
We're going to student spotlight from primary.
Woo-hoo. All right.
Sherry, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Good evening, everyone. So, primary would like to recognize our student spotlight for October as Lainey Torres. Lainey is an exceptional student. Her teachers, Mrs. McCraw and Mrs. Martin, had wonderful things to say about Lainey, that she's extremely well behaved, she's respectful, takes her learning very seriously. She works hard in class and applies and learns new concepts quickly. Lainey scored advanced on her math Timmy, can count past 100. She knows all of her letters and sounds, and she's a kindergartner, so she already is well, way ahead. She's reading on grade level, writing complete sentences. In her ESL Imagine Learning program, she's completed 180 activities, has read 15 books, and learned 27 vocabulary words and 15 sight words. So Lainey has a sweet and kind personality, and she is most of all a good friend to everyone, and we are very proud of Lainey and all of her accomplishments. So congratulations.
Lenny, you want to get your picture taken?
Yeah, we're gonna get your picture.
Teachers, y'all come up here too. Teach Lenny, come on up.
That's okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great job.
Thanks, sir. Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And now we're going to spotlight elementary schools. Ms. Webb.
I'm not coming alone. Oh, gosh. I have the privilege tonight of recognizing Miss Ashley Swodek. And Ashley is a second grade teacher at Gatesville Elementary. She was a 2001 graduate at Gatesville High School, and she has taught second grade for us her whole career. So 12 years in second grade. And when I was thinking about what I would say, her name came up over and over as we went back to school from different teachers. I have my life skills teacher, my EPCD teacher always says, well, you put my inclusion kid in Ashley's room. And my past teacher that has some of our behaviorally challenging kids say, will you put my kid in Ashley's room? Because Ashley, what she embodies is she takes all kids. She takes their uniqueness, she takes their challenges, she takes a disability and exceptionalism. She takes it and she loves them, and she works with them and she grows them. And I have not found a kid that wasn't successful in her class because of the relationship she builds and the time and the dedication. I made notes, but I don't need them because I can talk about how awesome she is. She cares about her kids, and that's an amazing thing. She's an advocate for her children. So, but beyond what she does for kids, she's also a second grade lead teacher. I have 2 lead teachers, and she's one of them. And she is there for her team. So I think our second grade team is better because you are a part of it, and our building is better because she's a part of it. So I'm honored to recognize her tonight.
Actually, we're proud of you. I know Tommy, family, I know you guys are proud of you too. Yeah, all right. Picture.
Smile, Charles.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ashley.
Now we want to spotlight our community partners.
Well, this has been a kind of a continuing series of organizations that have helped Gatesville ISD a whole lot. And the Education Foundation, I couldn't think of a more giving group. And I'd like for those, if you've been associated with the foundation in any capacity, I'd like you to come on up. And Velda's here. Velda is our current president. Ann Miller, her faithful sidekick. Who else is here from the foundation? Just those two? Okay. Y'all come on up. Velda, tell us how much y'all made at the tailgate.
We made $1,300 at the tailgate.
Okay, great. And then the gala last year was tens of thousands, I believe.
Yes, but it cost tens of thousands to So unfortunately, we didn't make a whole lot off
Yeah.
of the gala. That's why I decided to not do it this year.
Yeah. But besides just the financial support, these guys do a lot of stuff around town, putting a good word out for Gatesville ISD, and Ann Miller goes door to door asking people for money. And
She does.
and people can't tell her no. They can't tell her no. And
And
so
what's good is they give it to you.
that's
Oh,
right.
yes.
That's right. And all of that money goes back to the teachers. And they use it to
100%.
buy supplies for the classroom, technology, different things. So you guys do a great job.
Yes.
So we're glad y'all could be here tonight.
Thank
Thank
you.
y'all.
And I have another check for you for tomorrow.
Okay, good.
And we're not done yet. She's like,
And Joe wasn't able.
I guess Joe could.
Oh, yeah. I put my cane over there. I didn't want to look as old as I am. I'm proud of that.
Thank you.
thank
Thanks,
y'all very
Amy.
much.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
You'll do great. Yeah.
We're honored.
This morning.
Good.
I haven't been to your house yet.
I'm not home. Come on by. Watch out for the dog.
I did my first evaluation, and I kept going up. I was hearing this weird noise up and down the aisle, could not find it. He snored, and then he told me I did a really good job.
He just never know.
Well, Ann Shannon, I think you need to come lead the meeting. Okay, go on. Are there any public comments at this time? Then we'll move to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to, for the consent agenda, to approve the consent agenda? Cheyenne, is there a second? Charlie, okay, thank you. Any questions about that? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. None opposed. Thank you. And then endorsement of the bond proposal?
Okay, tonight a group called the Gatesville Citizens for Safer Schools would like to address the board regarding the upcoming bond election. Early voting started today and will be the next 2 weeks, Monday through Friday, till 5 o'clock, except on Tuesdays they go from 7 to 7. So if you didn't have a chance to vote, go out and do your civic duty. But we're going to give the floor to those that came that maybe wanted to say a few words. Now they're all looking like, I don't think I want to come up here. But I think it's Greg, Wendy, I know, and Dwight. If you guys want to come up and just say a few words, nothing earth-shattering, but just your thoughts on the bond and what you'd like to tell the board about it.
I guess I did volunteer to go first. Well, my name's Greg Casey. Most of y'all all know me. Taking a look at the bond, I really hadn't thought much about it, and then was asked to sit in on a presentation for the new bond and to look at the new school and kind of see, because the first thing I think of when I think of bond is I think of taxes. I pay enough of those as it is, and so I was curious to see kind of what we were going to get out of it. And what the school was going to look like. And I was really impressed. Mr. Pollard walked us through kind of a blueprint that had been put together as far as what the school, the thought process behind the school was going to look like, how they were going to enclose it. And the one thing that impressed me the most was, as terrible as it is to say, is it's safer. I have a senior this year who's going to graduate, so he won't benefit too much from that. But if this passes and if it's on schedule, I have a 7th grader who will be a 9th grader. But anyway, I'll have one in high school in the new facility. And I went to y'all all you taught me 7th grade science. So I'm a product of the school. My mom taught here for 30 years. But the school that they're in now is the same school I went to. They built the band hall when I was in the 8th grade, and they built the front part of the school when I was in college. But the back part of the school they had never done anything with, like where your typing class was. All of that's open and exposed. And you know, we've talked about this at church, trying to secure our churches now, trying to secure things. And as much as our school needs to be updated, and as much as our school needs to be improved upon because of the age of it, it needs to be safer, because I don't want people coming in and shooting up, especially my kids or anybody's kids. And to see the way that they were going to take that back area out, streamline it all around, still have a nice common area for the kids to use new technologies and new things to sit, but it's going to close all that in and make it so much safer for our kids and our staff. And if anything, heaven forbid, were to happen, there's thought processes in place to lock that down. And I do make a comment. I live over by the golf course, and we pay ridiculous taxes. But mine will go up $200, and if it's $200 to save Kyle, then that's money well spent. So anyway, thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Greg. Anybody else from the group want to add to that, or?
I say ditto, did a good job.
Dwight's here for moral support.
That's right.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Wendy, anything different?
I mean, I'll just add that, you know, I think kids taking pride in their school, and when it's poor quality or things are leaking, then they're not gonna, not that they're gonna trash it, but I'm just saying an updated, there's lots of things in that school that have been updated, and they take pride in that. And so I'm all on board with the safety issue. I have a senior this year who will be gone, but I have a 9th grader and I have a 7th grader that would benefit. So I'm supportive, I started a Facebook group just to kind of get the message out, and so we've been trying to, just through social media, get people to support it, and I think we've had some good support, so.
Thank you, Wendy. That's good.
And I voted this morning. First day you can vote, be sure you vote.
That's right. Thank you, Ann. All right.
Oh, I had one person ask me today about the paper which was received with the information up on and a picture. And I was asked about the height of the ceiling, and at first it was higher than it is now. So due to a lot of factors and some discussion by the board and architects, that it was lowered. So what is do you remember, is it 16 or is it? It was?
In the highest spots,
But it's lower than it looks in the picture.
We went as low as we could to where when you have a big expansive room, you don't want it to be 8-foot ceilings. Because if it's like that, the sound is gonna just knock your socks off. And so we went as low as what the architects said we could. And so I felt good about that, and the amount of glass was another thing. And we continue to have people like Officer Cody Lee, Chief Baden. They were looking at the plans just last week, still scrutinizing things and helping us with different parts of the infrastructure. So people have put a lot of work into this behind the scenes. So if it does pass, it'll be ready to go.
Anybody else? Any questions?
Mary Ann, I've had people mention that seating as well. What is the elementary? What vault or what height is it? I know.
When you go in the front door, it's 35 foot to the ceiling. I mean, that's the highest point of the building, the elementary, is that front entryway, but it's 35 foot.
One thing I liked was it was appealing, look aesthetically.
Right.
But it didn't look like it was a lot of wasted space.
Right.
You know, that had room to grow, but yet it also, when you walked in, it gave you something to say we're Hornets, but it's not over the top.
Right.
And it was appropriate looking, so.
And we hope the flyer that went home to everybody this weekend reached people that maybe don't subscribe to the Gatesville Messenger or don't do Facebook. You know, there are groups that don't do either one of those. And so we want to make sure they at least have information so when they go vote, they can make an informed decision.
I think the majority of the folks on the board, we're trying to act out of need instead of out of want. You know, there are things that some people wanted that we maybe didn't really need, and we're trying to squeeze every penny out of it that we can and get it to where we need it to be. The safety issue, you know, the whole deal for the least amount of money that we can spend, but man, it costs a lot of money to do stuff. Golly.
And you're right, but I'd like to add that 9.9, that's not a real large bond. It's really not. I mean, you start looking at other schools around the district and you're looking, you know, 20 million as an example, or more.
Or more.
So, and I think we have looked real close in trying to get the best value out of our dollar in the building, best we could. And we addressed the ceilings quite heavily, got them down.
Okay.
Well, guys, thank y'all for
Thank
coming
y'all.
tonight. Appreciate the feedback. It's
Thank
good
you.
information to know.
Thank you.
Thank you for your efforts in the community and getting the word out and helping us all we can.
And you're free to stay for the whole meeting, or you can leave.
Sorry. We have cookies. Okay, moving on. We will, Dr. Pollard, the request for proposal on fiber telephone and internet line.
You know, in the midst of all this, we have been looking at all the infrastructure of the district. So sewage and water and fiber and electricity. And one thing that's needing to be updated regardless of whether the bond passes or not, and we've got the money to do it, but it's to update the fiber. And so the fiber keeps the telephones working and the internet working, and so it's one of those things where when you're done investing in it, there's nothing shiny to see or look at, but it sure is nice when you pick up the phone and it works. And when you turn on your laptop, you can get the internet. And so it's just one of those things where it's time to get that in, and it will be, from a security standpoint, again, from a cyber security standpoint, better if we get this done here pretty soon. And it's really a kind of an urgent need that we need to address soon. And so Shelley's been getting some quotes, but we're going to need to do a formal request for proposal. We're thinking that to reroute all of this, it probably would be, between 100 and 115,000 to do it. And so, like Rob said, everything's expensive, even running cable. But of course, they've got to bore through the ground and under streets and fields and different things. And so, but at the end of the day, if we can reroute all this, it will be configured in such a way to where if something were to go wrong or haywire, we can isolate it to a certain spot, and it doesn't take the whole thing down. And so, again, that's going to be something that we're working towards. Again, whether or not, if the bond were to fail, we'd still do it. We need to do it. We've got to do it. So, did y'all have any questions about it?
We don't have to vote, that's just information, but if y'all have questions.
So again, we'll go through the request, we'll go through the proposal process, pick the best value. If there's some bids that can come in cheaper than that, of course we'd go, and we want to get a trusted vendor too. Shelley's worked with a couple in particular that are really good that we've done work with before, but it's one of those things again where it just needs to be done. It's getting
How
old.
old is the equipment that's in place?
It varies, and fibers is such a thing to where it's not just the age but the location of it. And Shelley begged me, where is Shelley? Shelley said, do not go into any detail on where it's at, how deep it is, or anything of that nature from a cybersecurity standpoint. And so, if we need to discuss that more, we'll do it in closed session. So, but regardless of that, we just wanted to let you know that it's something. It's not in dire straits, but it needs to have attention to it. And Shelley's been working pretty hard with some of those vendors, just looking at it and seeing what we might do with it. Any other questions about it?
As far as the ditching and boring and all that stuff, would it be more economical to do it during the construction phase of the new high school when the ditch is already open,
We talked.
casing is already there, all they gotta do is pull another conduit through it?
We talked to Masonic about it, whether or not they wanted to incorporate it into their scope of work, or if we were going to do it separate. And I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another, really. They were almost elated when we said we might do it beforehand, just to get it off their plate. But of course, that would reduce the amount that they'll charge us on their end. But we always do ask Eddie and Ed Masonic if there's something that we can do, or if they would do it, if it'd be cheaper. And so,
You just don't wanna get it in the ground and get it cut when they come in and
right,
start
right.
sprinkler systems or
Yes.
whatever they're gonna do.
And the utility scanning that you guys approved a couple of board meetings ago was very helpful. They were very thankful, very appreciative. We've had a couple of meetings with Mary and Eddie, and they said, boy, that sure is useful, because they now can see water and sewage and electric underneath this part that's going to be demolished. And they said, boy, that should just help us know what to do with all these different lines. Because at the end of the game, what we're trying to make sure is that the restrooms over here that are supposed to keep working still flush when we start ripping everything out. And the lights that are supposed to be working over here still turn on when we rip everything out. And so that was very helpful to them.
Anybody else? Okay, moving on. 2019 Summer Feeding Program Report. Mr. Frazier? Gail? Surprise?
Bring Gail up. She's our head of food service. And a great lady. Works really hard. I'm gonna go through the numbers, and then she can make a few comments about the people that really made a difference for the summer feeding program this year. If you'll turn over to the chart that's on page 64 of your board book this time, you'll see that we started this in 2011, the summer feeding program. And we were rocking along there pretty good for about 4 or 5 years at a steady increase. Can you find that page, Barrett?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. 64?
62.
Does it change numbers?
Is that what you want, Derek?
Okay, there you go. That's the chart. So we started summer feeding in 2011. The solid dark line represents a break even. And so we were at a loss the very first year. We made some money. The next several years, we lost money those next several years. The amount above is how much it actually cost the district to operate the program. So I better get this right here. So the first year we had a loss, and then the several other years we were actually losing money in providing this service to the community. So about 3 years ago, we made a dramatic change, and we began to break even and actually make a little bit off of the summer feeding program. First year there in 2017 at $6,000. In the last couple of years, we've been around the $4,000 net profit on that summer feeding program. On the other hand, you can see that the total meals have been served during the 57 days, I think it was, this past summer, has grown each year. And this year, we have served 1,573 more meals than we did the prior year. That's 27 meals per day for each serving day that we had. And so I think our crew did a fantastic job. We're still in the black, making money on the project, plus we're providing meals to a lot more kiddos in our community during the hot summer months. It doesn't just happen. She has a great crew that works with her, and I'll let her acknowledge 2 or 3 of the key people. Everybody that worked is important.
Yes.
But we had 2 or 3 outstanding leaders in our summer feeding program that really made the difference.
I actually have 2 that like to spearhead. One of them's Betty Cooper. She works at elementary during the regular year, and she loves to do the inside part. And so she's in charge of ordering, inventory, and then feeding the Boys and Girls Club and any of the summer schools that comes to that campus. And then Tammy likes doing the outside part.
Tammy Brown.
Tammy Brown is the manager of primary, and she loves grabbing the bags and going out to the parks and finding new places for me to fill out an application and get approval for her to be there. And so this year we picked up the library, and we picked up the care center. We've always done the parks and the pools, and that's where those kids hang out in the summer. And so one of the very first years we went out to the parks, Tammy didn't want to wear a uniform, and she wanted to use her own car. She didn't like using a school vehicle. But someone called the cops because this lady was in her car handing out free bags to kids. So when we got the message, I said, okay, now you're wearing a uniform and you're using a school vehicle. So, but it's really grown since then. They're both very passionate about the program, and they do an awesome job making sure those kids get fed.
Thank you,
finding
Gail.
out where they're hanging out.
And her crew worked really hard. They just went everywhere all over town looking for kiddos to feed, and you can see they found them. And each year it's just been growing steadily. And we would like for you to recognize your people and tell them on our behalf how much we're grateful for their hard work this past summer. You know, she's taken on a few things, the food service program, like CP over at the primary, and the numbers there in primary are growing pretty excitingly. Participation at 2 or 3 of our campuses is going great. So the food service is on a roll.
Yeah.
And I just saw the
Very
number
exciting.
today on the loss for last fiscal year, and you'll be pleased when you see that.
Okay.
I'll just tell you that much at this point. Still gotta be on.
Builds me up.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you. Any questions? No?
No, I did notice though, you know, you named some places, but they would come to Vacation Bible School at the different churches. It was very nice.
Yeah, one year Trinity just decided to do summer school, and my kids went out there, and so I asked them, can we feed you breakfast and lunch for free? And so that was nice to have Trinity and feed those little ones.
We appreciate it.
We always try to find out who has something going on that we can help, because it benefits all of our children.
That's good. Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Webb, beginning of year reading and math inventory scores report.
Yes. How are you guys doing tonight? Well, our first through 8th grade teachers just completed the beginning of the year reading assessments that we call the benchmark assessment system. And I won't go through each one of those graphs. I know you guys have seen them, but just kind of gives you a breakdown of how our kids are performing beginning of the year at above level, on level, approaching, and below level. You know, we have kids that continue to show growth each year. You know, the Fountain Pinel system that we use has high expectations, and you know, but we still have kids that still struggle to read, and you know, that's just a reality for us. So you know, we focus heavily on that. You know, as you've seen over the years, and we continue to give those students support that need that intervention. And our teachers have been working really hard, you know, implementing guided reading and running records to assess students and make informed decisions on intervening with them. And our kindergarten students, they did not get a beginning of the year test this year. We decided to wait. They're still learning to read, and they will receive their first test assessment coming up in December. And so, does anybody have any questions about this? You have you know, our current 8th grade cohort, kind of see where they were from beginning of the year, beginning of 5th grade, all the way to 8th grade. It's kind of where they're sitting. So you see gains. We're making gains. And then we had our kindergarten through 2nd grade kids took a TIMI, which is a Texas Early Math Intervention inventory. And our kids did really well on those and those grade levels, and we're working on those kids that struggle in math and intervening on those students as well. So just to know that none of these assessments that we speak of tonight are 4th grade. They're just to kind of see where our kids are performing and what we need to do to support them. Any questions?
Any questions?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just wondering about in our legislation meeting, I went to the teachers we trained for phonics.
The reading
The
academies.
reading academies, is that during the school year or would that be this summer?
They do not know yet, so you want me to go ahead and talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to
Upset the
upset
teachers.
any teacher right now.
But
there is a looming burden with the new legislature, House Bill 3, that every K through 3 teacher, it's any teacher administrator, it doesn't matter if you're PE, art, it doesn't matter. You have to go through what's called a reading academy. It is a 10-day academy. We don't know if it is a 10 days in the summer, if it's going to be a few days in the summer, and then you have activities and artifacts that you have to create, and then you have to submit to receive some type of certification for that. And so we have 2 years, and you know, we've spoken to Region 12 about it. The service centers will be the ones that will be providing this training, and they will not be able to certify everyone this next summer. So it will be a 2-year process. We don't know what that will look like yet, but it is a looming burden that is fairly expensive to send every teacher to as well. That will be a cost.
the state, after they gave us the money, you know, this biennium, they are now slowly telling us how to use it, or forcing us to do different things. And so we're afraid this is going to be very costly. The first numbers we were hearing were as much as $600 a teacher, and I mean, it's big. But we don't know all the details yet. And they've got 2 years to get it, so we're hoping they iron it out, and maybe it's a little bit more reasonable before it's all said and done.
I was just at an instructional leadership symposium at Region 12 on Wednesday, and they don't have any answers right now. So we don't know quite what that's going to look like. But yes, that is something that every K through 3 teacher and administrator will have to go through.
So the push is for every subject, PE, art, music.
Right now, that's the understanding. Every
To have a
every
phonics.
teacher that touches a kindergarten through 3rd grade student get the certification.
I think it started with good intentions in the sense that the state is saying, okay, K through 3, those first early years are very important. And so we want our, you know, very good, very trained teachers in those grades. But, you know, in the process, I know it may cause some folks to not want to have to do all that, you know, or to avoid those, you know, new teacher might say, well, I don't want to go K3, I may go 4 instead. So I hope there aren't unintended consequences, but it will be kind of a burden to get that certification.
And you don't know how long a certification lasts?
We don't know any details.
Don't know anything, like how,
We
you know,
just know that it's coming.
winter's
and
coming.
That winter's coming. And we will have to comply with the law, so.
Hopefully.
A lot of stuff coming down the pipeline.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
Okay, the annual announcement of board training. This is a time where if you'd like to go get a cup of coffee, this is the time. Because I have to read 3 pages. Correct?
Verbatim.
Anything before that, or?
If you want these, they're all, it's right here together.
Oh, okay. We'll have to, yeah, okay, I'll use these. Okay. I'm not kidding, if you wanna go get something to drink. Okay, under State Board of Education rule, completing required continuing education each year of service is a basic obligation and expectation of any sitting board member. As board president, I am required to announce the name of each member who, as of that member's anniversary of election or appointment to the board, has completed the required continuing education, has exceeded the required continuing education, and is deficient in meeting the required continuing education. There are 4 tiers or categories of board member continuing education. Tier 1, local district orientation, basic legal orientation, and legal update training. Tier 2, team building training with all board members and the superintendent. Tier 3, annual continuing education, and Tier 4, evaluating and improving student outcomes. To the extent applicable to board members under the legal requirements for the 4 tiers, I will announce the completion or deficiency as to required training. For members who still have time remaining to complete required training, I will announce those board members who have scheduled timely training and those who have not yet scheduled the training. At the conclusion of this announcement, I will announce any board members' training in excess of the continuing education requirements. Tier 1 orientation and legal update training. Local district orientation training. The following first-year board members have completed the Tier 1 local district orientation session: Charles Alderson and Linda Maxwell. Basic orientation legal training. The following first-year board members have completed the Tier 1 basic orientation training regarding the Texas Education Code and relevant legal obligations: Charles Alderson and Linda Maxwell. Legal update training. The following board members have completed the Tier 1 legal update to the Texas Education Code and relevant legal developments after the most recent legislative session: Charles Alderson, Rob Irwin, David Fincher, Cheyenne Kaiser, Marianne Lieb, and Linda Maxwell. The following board member is deficient in meeting the required Tier 1 legal update to the Texas Education Code and relevant legal developments after the most recent legislative session: John Westbrook. Tier 2 team building training. The following board members have completed the required team building training: Charles Alderson, Rob Irwin, David Fincher, Cheyenne Kaiser, Marianne Lieb, Linda Maxwell, and John Westbrook. Tier 3 annual continuing education. The following board members have completed the Tier 3 annual continuing education requirements: Charles Alderson, Rob Irwin, David Fincher, Cheyenne Kaiser, Marianne Lieb, Linda Maxwell, and John Westbrook. Tier 4 evaluating student academic performance training. The following board members have completed the required training on evaluating and improving student outcomes: Charles Alderson, Rob Irwin, David Fincher, Cheyenne Kaiser, Marianne Lieb, Linda Maxwell, and John Westbrook. Exceeding required continuing education. Board member Charles Alderson exceeded the required amount of required continuing education training by 2.25 additional hours. Board member Rob Irwin exceeded the required amount of required continuing education training by 0.25 additional hours. Board member David Fincher exceeded the required amount of required continuing education training by 0.25 additional hours. Board member Cheyenne Kaiser exceeded the required amount of required continuing education training by 1.5 additional hours. Board member Mary Ann Lee exceeded the required amount of required continuing education training by 2 additional hours. Board member Linda Maxwell exceeded the required amount of required continuing education training by six additional hours. Board member John Westbrook exceeded the required amount of required continuing education training by 2.25 additional hours. Thank you. All right. Next, we have the dissemination of the framework for governance leadership. And each year, the board president distributes the framework for governance leadership, also known as the framework for school board development, to all current members of the board and the superintendent. And this document is included in your packet at the October meeting each year and distributed to new board members as part of their local orientation. Any questions on that? If you do have any questions on that framework, you can talk to Dr. Pollard. Or me, if he's not available, but he'll be available. All right. And as we're moving on, unfortunately, we are talking about our trustee resignation and options for trustee replacement. So we'd like to thank John Westbrook for the years that he served on the board. We do need to, can we go ahead and accept his resignation?
Y'all can make a motion to.
Okay. We need a recommendation or motion to accept John's resignation.
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second, Charles?
We have to come back if we don't.
That's what I'm wondering, is he still on?
In fact, it's actually automatically accepted after 8 minutes.
It is required.
You're just going through the motions.
Darn. So we do, that motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion besides that we don't want him to, but he did?
We miss
So
his
we have to
knowledge.
vote. Yeah, we will. So all in favor of accepting his resignation, raise your hand. Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we do need to discuss how to fill his seat. There are 3 options for filling vacancies on the board. One is to leave the position vacant until the next general election. However, if it's more than 1 year, and it is, the vacancy has to be filled no later than 180 days after the vacancy occurs. So that would be 6 months. So it would have to be filled, if not now, before 6 months from now. The second option is to order a special election to fill the vacancy. And the third option is to fill the vacancy by appointment until the next trustee election. So, what are your thoughts about those 3 options?
Well, to me, it makes sense to wait until after the next election and then fill the vacancy by appointment. Because if we decide to do
Next
that tonight,
month?
it's only good until the next election, is that correct? And that seat is not up for re-election in the next election.
I called Holly Wardell, our lawyer, and she recommends, she said, yeah, your board probably wants to wait and see how November 5th turns out, and then just talk about it some more at the next meeting. You know, the main thing she said was that you can discuss out here how you might like to fill it, but then she said in closed session, you have every right to talk about specific people. And so you don't talk about specific people out here, you do it in closed session. If y'all go the route of number 3, you'd need to come to some sort of consensus and approach that person, make sure that they're willing to do it, and then we would, we would have that as an item on the next, whenever you want to put it on the board agenda.
Okay, so we can think about that in closed session. We can bring up people if we want to do that in a little bit. All right? Did I handle that okay? Okay. All right. Moving along, we have new bus purchases. Mr. Harper?
A couple of years ago, we put in place a fleet replacement cycle, and this year we've evaluated our needs and we're requesting the purchase of 2 large 71-passenger buses. Last year, we purchased a special education bus and 3 vans, and so this year we're looking at replacing or bringing in 2 new large buses to supplement our fleet. So the recommendation is to approve the purchases, one from Bluebird and one from International, for 2 71-passenger buses.
Is there a motion for that recommendation? Linda, is there a second? Second. Any questions, discussion?
I have a question. Would you run over the train of thought behind buying 2 different brands of buses?
So that your fleet's not overloaded with just one. If it's all Bluebird and something is recalled or goes wrong with Bluebird, your whole fleet is affected.
How many years have we had Bluebird buses or International buses, and how many fleet-wide recalls have we ever gone through?
I don't know of any recalls that we've gone through, but we've always had, both in our fleet as far back as that I know of. Going back to Steve and maybe even back to.
And the major components on the buses are the same? The suspensions or Rockwell suspensions, the transmissions, the engines, and there's several $1,000s difference in the price of the buses. Doesn't make sense to me to buy the higher price bus when you get 2 of the cheaper buses. But
yeah, I'm relying on our mechanics and our transportation director. They handle this on an everyday basis, and that was their recommendation, to be able to make sure our fleet is not hemmed in or put in a corner by having all the same type buses.
Any other questions?
Well, I'm like Rob, if you can save $2,000, why don't you save $2,000?
the major components are the same. If you have a Cummins problem, you're gonna have it in both buses.
Still have diesels, you still have air conditioning and all the other stuff.
I didn't get a breakdown of all the differences of, what we work on the most of with the different Bluebird or the International.
Well, that would be a consideration as a maintenance, if one's more expensive to maintain the other.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, if we tabled it and brought it back in November, would that throw the timeline off too much, or would it be okay?
It puts it off a month.
Yeah, the quotes are only good up until 60 days from the day of the proposal, which was.
I'm sure they can work with the salesmen and stuff to extend those quotes, but I can have Marty come to the next board meeting to explain it in more detail.
Well, I mean, he came last time and he's on the same. I mean, I do this stuff for a living also, and that just doesn't make sense to me at all. You're paying for names. You're paying for that little red circle in front of that Peterbilt bus. That's a lot of it.
Quote on this one is September 11.
And I can ask him for, the most things that we replace on the Bluebird or the International, and have a determination of what's a better option for him to go with. But as far as I know, that's been the practice.
Have we looked at any of the big schools that run hundreds upon hundreds of buses and how they do it?
As far as I know, that's the same thing. When I go to the bus driving school, they talk about having your fleet diverse, so that it's not all one brand, but I can get particular numbers for you.
Okay, I mean, y'all know more about what you're doing than I do.
Well, I trust his judgment on it.
Like I said, we could also table it and have Marty come back with his rationale.
These prices still be good.
You said it was
in
September
November?
11th.
September 11
So that ran
is
out
when the.
November 11th.
But I'm sure we can contact the vendors. They're gonna wanna make the sale.
They'll work with us on that to update it.
They'll extend it or provide a new one.
Now granted, I want new buses, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But if you
Oh, I
save
do
some
too.
money and you have the same quality product, why don't you save the district some money? That's what we're responsible for.
Yeah.
Is the way I look at it. And if they're both good products and they're low maintenance, I think we need to look at it.
And your parts availability, and stuff like that. I mean, that's beginning to be more and more of a deal. This diesel particulate filter service and all of that kind of mess it's a nightmare. And I don't know who's going to give us. I know we run Mack trucks, up until not long ago, and our service has gotten so poor that that won't happen anymore. You know, so I don't know. Rush has a facility in Waco, but I don't think they work on school buses, do they? Do they have to go to San Antonio to get worked on, a church or down there wherever the school bus?
I mean, some of the diesel filters and stuff, they send them to Rush, but I don't know about other components of it. They have to get, you know, burned out and refurbished so that they can put them back on the vehicles. But I don't know about the whole line of what they offer at Rush or who we send them to.
And then I'm not sure about International. I know there is one in Waco and there is one in Temple. They're not very big stores, but
Both come in 6.7.
I don't know if they have a separate place where the school buses go for a school bus. I know they work on a lot of them in Temple at the International place. I've seen them down there.
They've got the same motor in both buses.
So how much is the difference?
A little over $2,000.
$2,000.
So Marcy, if we wanted to table this, how do we back out of this?
Well, I mean,
Or do we need to go
you
through
just
the-
say you want to table it until the next meeting, we bring it back to the next meeting.
So y'all okay with
Even
that?
even though we've already had a motion and a second?
We'll just pretend that didn't happen.
Well, just,
Well, if you vote on it, it
well,
passes or doesn't.
yeah, you can either vote, see
Yeah.
if it passes, or if it doesn't pass, or you can make another motion to table it.
To rescind that motion?
To rescind it.
I would rather not rush it so we can give everybody all the information they need, that way you
Okay.
feel good about it. I don't wanna just force it. So, are y'all good with just coming back and looking at it again?
Well, let's do the motion to table it.
To rescind it, or to
whatever.
table it,
Yeah.
or
Somebody
table
do
it till
that.
next meeting.
I'll make a motion to table it till next meeting.
Charles
I'll second.
and Rob. Okay, so let's vote on that.
Now we have to vote on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think it's
To
better
rescind
in
it,
the
yeah.
situation.
Sure.
Who's in favor of tabling, rescinding that, well, rescinding that motion is what we're voting on right now. Vote, okay. So, we're not doing that motion, and now we want to table it, the discussion.
A motion that we table it till the next board meeting.
Okay, well, let's just do that. And Rob, you must
Yes,
second.
I'll second.
Rob will second, and all in favor of tabling it? Okay, now we're covered, I guess.
And the
I'm
specific
just gonna say
information you want me
rescind
to
motion
bring
and
back.
table. Is
Sorry.
that
Thank you.
sufficient?
What is the
You
specific
gotta look
information?
at your maintenance of it, reliability, parts, service. I guess even the longevity of the buses, how long they're gonna run.
Warranties?
Yeah.
I think they're, from what I read, both of them are very comparable. You know, it's only $2,000 or 20, however many hundred,
About 20.
but it is $2,000, and that's, you know, I mean, our job is stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, and I don't know. Is it-
I don't think it will slow things down that much by waiting a few weeks and then voting on it then.
They're talking about, what's the kind of a delivery time frame? 60 days?
No, it's more like between 4 and 6 months.
Price is good for estimated
that's
delivery,
for the-
estimated delivery 45 to 60 days on the International. Prices are good for 60 days from the date of this proposal.
Right.
Estimated delivery time 45 to 60 days, FOB Gatesville ISD.
$60 is September, quote on this is September 11th.
Another thing that I was going to mention to the board is that if the bond passes, we're going to have to meet more frequently for many meetings. M-I-N-I and probably M-A-N-Y. But, so, we won't be able with this, if it passes, we won't be able to wait a whole month while we make these big, huge decisions. You'll have to come maybe more frequently, but they'll be like 20, 30-minute meetings. And then because we can't wait. So this may be a situation where we pick up a bus one in with that. And so we don't wait all the way to the next November one.
I'm up next.
The prices aren't guaranteed until that next board meeting. This might be a problem.
That's what I was looking at, September 11th, 60 days would be November 11th. So, when do we meet?
It'll probably go up $2,500. Yeah, both of them.
You know, we don't wanna lose it.
Never go.
Have-
Yeah.
Wind up spending more.
Yeah. Usually those those sales reps are pretty good about, if you go to them midstream and ask them, can we extend it, they're pretty good about that.
And it's a week or two, if it's, you know, November 11th, and the meeting's on November 18th. It's, you know,
But
just 1 week.
If they play hardball and say, oh no, it's going up 3,000, the next week, we'll have a special meeting.
Yeah.
Or we'll just tell them we're gonna go with the other guy, and then they'll
Yeah.
use it back then.
You can talk about it.
So the guy that thinks he's gonna pick up that second bus will be more than happy to work with you. Probably.
Okay. All right, Scott, you can go ahead with HVAC.
Yes, for the intermediate building, we're requesting to replace the units all up on top of the intermediate. This is all original equipment since 96, whenever it was built. That building takes most of our service calls for the HVAC. We've got several units that are out with no heat that we're trying to get put in and replaced right away. But we're also been replacing and repairing condensers and motors, trying to keep the existing equipment going. And so we're requesting to come in and put all Lennox equipment up on top so that we can be more standard with the air conditioning and have those replaced on a time schedule that we can dictate the service. So we're requesting to purchase the equipment, but then we're gonna go out for quotes on whenever we want the vendors to come in and install it. And so the installation is not part of this request, just the equipment is part of the request. And so you have 2 quotes in front of you, one from Carrier and one from Lennox. And the one that we are recommending is the Lennox product for $107,844. And so that's the recommendation to approve that equipment purchase for the intermediate building.
The installation will be over and above that amount, that's just for
That's just the
equipment in a box.
Right. So with the installation, with that large amount, if we went to an RFP to get the installation, a part of that, the vendor has a lot more control over when they install them. So this way we have control over to say, we want you to come in over the Thanksgiving, put in this many units that we need right away, then we'll order the next batch instead of having all that shipped at once, and then we're just kind of sitting on that money, or it's just sitting there. We'll have those units come in and have them installed. Then whenever we have the next window for them to come in, we'll go out and get quotes from local vendors to install it. And so we have more control over the installation this way, in our opinion.
So you've heard the recommendation to approve purchasing the Lennox equipment for intermediate. Is there a motion for that recommendation?
I have a question before we do that.
Okay.
This price quote is good through 10/16. Has anybody checked with them to see if it's still good?
Yes. The Lennox is off the buy board, and so it's they work with us real well,
Okay.
and it is still good.
Wait.
You make a motion? Anybody? Linda, is there a second? Cheyenne? Any questions? All those in favor, raise your hand. Unopposed, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Harper.
Thank you.
Now we need to talk about the meeting date to conduct official local canvass of returns for the elections.
So a date needs to be determined to conduct the official local canvass of returns for the election. So the earliest date for official canvassing of returns by the school board is Friday, November 8th. The last day is Monday, November 18th. So there's that window. 2 board members need to do it. 2 board members constitute a quorum for the purpose of canvassing the election. But under the Open Meetings Act, that's the only school business you can do. And so there's kind of a special ruling there to where 2 folks can come in. I think, have any of y'all done that before? Were any of y'all the 2 that did it? Marianne, have you ever done it, Cheyenne?
We've had the whole group come.
Yeah, for the most,
Okay.
everyone's,
We've had
everybody's been
everybody.
here and.
So my recommendation is we have a special meeting to conduct the official local canvass of returns on Monday, November 18th at 6:15 prior to the regular board meeting. So basically, we'll start 15 minutes early and have the results canvassed.
But you're saying if everybody can't be.
That's why we did it before the previous
Last
year.
year.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Is there, okay, Rob? Second, Charlie? Any questions? All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. We're going to the targeted improvement plans for elementary and intermediate. Mr. Webb.
Alright, I'm gonna try to explain this to you guys the best that the easiest way for you to understand. Our accountability system is extremely difficult, and there's lots of factors that go in determining that. You know that the elementary campus, they're in their second year of improvement, but last year they started with the PSP process, you know, which is what Mr. Westbrook used to do with school improvement. The state has adopted a new program called ESF. It's called the Effective Schools Framework. And so because of that, you know, and I'll explain the elementary things here in a minute, but because of that, they're having to go through this whole new process, even though they made improvement, and they wouldn't be having to go through these same steps had the PSP still been in place. So because it's a new process, they've got to go through the full-blown piece of it. And so that's just what it's called now. It's called Effective Schools Framework, and that's just the improvement process that a school has to go through. So maybe a little brief summary of that. So I want to let you know we have 2 schools that are identified as needing improvement right now. The first one is the elementary campus, and that's due from the 2017-2018 ratings. That's when Gatesville Elementary was identified as a comprehensive improvement campus based on federal accountability. And that was specifically for Domain 3, which Domain 3 is closing the gaps. So closing the gaps is looking at all of your sub-pops. So any student group that is 25 students or more is a sub-pop. And so it's all students, it's, you know, different races, special ed, ESL, continuously enrolled, non-continuously enrolled, and there's a few others as well. And at that year, their overall score in Domain 3 was a 43. That was their score. Significant progress was made in the 2018-19 school year, which raised their status to what's called comprehensive progress now. So because they made significant gains, they weren't comprehensive improvement anymore. They're now called comprehensive progress. So they raised their score in Domain 3 to a 69, which makes them eligible for exit if the criteria is met this school year. So you have to meet the criteria for 2 years to be able to exit. And so as long as they're you know, they continue the progress that they've made, they will exit this year, and we will not have to go through this process again. And so the campus overall raised their score from a 63 to a 77. So 2 years ago their score was a 63. This last school year they raised it to an overall score of 77. That takes into account, you know, your Domain 1, your Domain 2, and your Domain 3 scores, and that's how it's figured. And those are based on percentages. After completing the campus had to go through a self-assessment. And so that's part of the ESF, the Effective Schools Framework, and they had to, from that self-assessment, they had to build a targeted improvement plan. And after going through that self-assessment, they had to identify 2 areas that they're going to focus on to improve. And so there are 6 different areas that you can look at. And the 2 that they have focused on are objective-driven daily lesson plans with formative assessments, and compelling and aligned vision, mission, and goals, values focused on a safe environment and high expectations. And I can go through those other 4 if you would like. Mr. Alderson, you may know a little bit about this, but it's just it's a targeted improvement plan saying the areas that they're going to focus on, and to address their rating to improve that. So that's where elementary is. Does anybody have any questions before I go to intermediate? So this is just an improvement process that we've got to go through. You know, and looking at the ESF, looking at the accountability system, a lot of schools. It's encompassing a lot of schools that may begin this process moving forward throughout the state. It's pretty difficult, some of the things that they're requiring. But we will continue to do the best that we can. So with intermediate, so this is due to the results from the 2018-2019 school year. Gatesville Intermediate was identified as a targeted support campus based on state accountability ratings. So the new accountability system, A through F, takes in, you have federal accountability and you have state accountability. So elementary was federal because it was domain 3, closing the gaps. Your sub-pops is federal accountability. Intermediate is based on state accountability. So both the systems are kind of intertwined. And that's specifically for a campus rating of a D. Now they were really close. The intermediate campus overall score was a 69.4. And so they were a 1/10 of a point from being a 70. And so that's what put them into this targeted improvement, targeted support. And so this is calculated by taking the better score of Domain 1, student achievement, or Domain 2, school progress. So student achievement is your how your kids perform on all tests. Your school progress is based on how much your kids have grown from year to year, from test to test. And so you take that, you take 70% of that. So the intermediate's best score was a 73 on Domain 1. So you take 70% of that score, and you take their Domain 3 score, closing the gaps, which was a 61, and that's how you come up with the score of a 69.4. And so they went through the same process of a self and needs assessment, looking at the same 6 levers, and they identified, their 2 that they identified was campus instructional leaders, meaning the principal and assistant principal, counselor, and teacher leader, setting clear roles and responsibilities. And then the second piece for them is data-driven instruction. And so taking the data for how their students are performing and making informed decisions and providing interventions for those kids. I hope I explained that clear enough.
You did a good job with that, because that stuff's
it is really difficult. There's a lot of factors that
percentages multiplied by
Yeah,
this and
it's
that.
tedious. And what's promising though is like elementary, when they really focused in on it, they went from a 63 to 77.
Yeah. That was what I noticed was the significant gains that we have made over the last year. Good.
Yes, sir. So, does anybody have any questions before I make the recommendation? I recommend the Gatesville ISD Board of Trustees approve the target improvement plan for Gatesville Elementary and Gatesville Intermediate.
Is there a motion for that recommendation, Linda? Second? Rob? Any other questions? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. All right, none opposed, thank you. Good luck, keep it going.
The principals and teachers are working really hard.
Okay, and now our policy update.
Last thing was just one policy update. You know how TASB periodically sends us recommendations for sometimes very minor changes, and if you guys flip through the DGBA local, they struck through like a word here and a word there and replaced it, so it was very minor. But it's best that we go ahead and stay on top of it and keep them all up to date. And so I recommend that the updates to local policy DGBA be approved and adopted as they presented.
Motion.
Charlie, go
To
ahead.
accept.
All right, is there a second to that recommendation? Shane, any questions? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries, thank you.
And I want to recognize we had one special guest, well, we have many special guests, but one special guest in the audience, Carson Necessary, is here today.
Yay.
Carson's one of our top Facebook fans. He constantly is giving us great suggestions, ideas. He is a hornet through and through. He's Mr. GISD. And so we're glad he's here tonight. Thanks, Carson.
He's a young Hornet legend.
Yeah, one of the making.
That's right. Thanks for coming. So we will end our open session and go to executive session in what, 10 minutes, y'all?
That'll work.